Oh, silly me. I didn't see you there. Hey, come here. Yeah, you, come here. Come over here real quick. Do you want to get shredded? You want to get cut? You want to get lean? Get away. Get out of here. Get back. Look, you're here because you want to get shredded, okay? You want to get ripped. You want to not look like a fatty. So we're going back to school, okay? We're going to Frank's School of Muscles. Okay, so sit down. You're going to watch this PowerPoint, okay? And we're going to watch my How Do You Cut Guide for Beginner to Intermediate Lifters, okay? And yes, here's my credentials, okay? We'll get more into the credentials here shortly. Okay? Yeah. So soon, you're going to know how to cut. In fact, here shortly, we'll get into my credentials, okay? Look at this. This was approximately 100 days. Let me move myself down here, okay? This was approximately 100 days. Went from meatball fat boy status that took me almost a year to build the fatness, okay? Had to really work to get that fat. Seriously, it was effort. And then we got shredded in about 100 days, okay? It took me about 100 days to cut down from 237 right here in this picture down to 185. So that's 52 pounds, okay? I'm pretty happy with how it went, but I would have changed a few things, and I learned a lot along the way, and I'm hoping that if you're getting ready to do your first cut, you're going to watch this guide and not make the same mistakes I did and hopefully be even better. That's what I want. I want you to watch this video, and I want you to do it better than I did, okay? So that's what you're going to do. Take notes, okay? More results 2022 to 2025. Okay, we see the timeline here. Let me move me across. Let me duck down real quick, okay? As you can see, kind of always been, I've never been a tubber. Just kind of always been sitting around 185, and then I hardcore bulked for like a year. 4,000 calories a day, okay? Actually bulking, all right? And then cut down, got McShreddy. Shredded cheese, okay? Shredderson, Thomas Shredderson. So the contents of today's guide, we're going to talk about what is a cut. How do you know when to cut? I'm going to go through the process of my cut and how it went and kind of what happened along the way, how I broke through some plateaus. I'm going to talk about how to structure your cut, okay? And then we're going to talk about how training changes on a cut, overall nutrition and protein intake, some meal prepping tips, and just a couple things that I would have done differently at the very end. So here we go. What's a cut? How do you lose fat? Okay, for some reason, blows my mind. We're in 2025, and there's still people arguing about this. Like, how do you lose fat? I gotta do a lemon juice water cleanse for 3 days. There's one way you can lose fat, and that is to burn more calories than you take in. That's it. Literally, that's it. Okay? I got a couple older guys I lift with, not older than me. Okay, 40. You know, they're still like, Frank, what'd you do to lose weight? Well, I ate less. It's nothing groundbreaking. Okay, so there's a lot of cutting myths, right? Certain diets. Which diet should I pick to lose weight? The diet where you eat less calories than you burn. That's it. It's not like paleo diet is gonna have you magically lose fat, or what's the other one? The one with the carbs, keto. It's not like just doing keto, you're magically just gonna lose weight. Or intermittent fasting. You lose fat because, say it with me. You burn more than you eat. That's it. Okay, so doing, a lot of people say just do cardio, or you got to do high intensity interval training. Those things do work, but because they burn extra calories, right? Are you seeing how it works? Okay. So got this in here, Star Wars. Okay. I put this in here because this was me for a long time on the gaining side. Man, I'm trying to gain weight right now, right? I'm trying to lose weight right now. Okay. Weight loss and weight gain is Star Wars, baby. Okay. It's time to bust out the Yoda. Do or do not. There is no try. Okay? You either are losing weight or you're staying the same or you're gaining it, right? So it's not like if you're saying you're trying to gain weight or trying to lose weight, are you really? Okay? Come here. You don't try. You just do it. All right? Get back. The other thing, a little myth, is that there's such a thing as spot fat loss. Like, people think like if you do crunches, you can like lose fat around the midsection. It's not going to happen. A lot of times, that's just like for a lot of people, it's the last place that you lose fat is the stomach. You can't pick where it comes from. It is what it is. For me on this cut, I had like a little bit of pudge on the bottom of my stomach that stayed there. Like I had quad veins and arm veins and starting to get a couple veins on my back, on my upper back, super vascular arms, but still had just a little fat around the stomach. It is what it is. And I keep it on my love handles too. So why is cutting challenging? Okay. Cutting is challenging because you need self-control and you need discipline. Okay. So if you're, hate to say it, I'm just going to tell it to you straight. Okay. You came here because you wanted the truth. If you're trying to lose fat and you're not, it's because you're undisciplined or potentially lack the knowledge. But after this video, you will have the knowledge. And that means if you're still not losing weight after this video, it's because you're undisciplined. So get more disciplined. Just get it. Dang it. Okay, I got to fire my producer. Brian, where are you? Brian, you're fired. Okay. Okay. When should you start a cut? Okay. The reason I'm putting this in here is because I had a guy the other day, younger guy I work out with a lot. He's basically skin and bones, a skeleton. Okay, younger dude. He just got started in the gym like a year or so ago, so it's not his fault. He looks exactly how you would expect for his age. He's just a skinnier guy, just started lifting recently. The other day, he's like, yeah, Frank, I'm about to start my cut tomorrow. Dude, a cut for what? Like there's nothing to cut. There's nothing to cut down to. There's nothing to cut off. I said, well, I'm trying to get shredded for summer. If you are already skinny and you're just like small, skinny, novice lifter, you're kind of new to the gym, you're just like a skinny guy, you probably shouldn't cut yet. Okay? You should probably watch my video about bulking and do a bulk. Now, that being said, especially if you're under 200 pounds, if you're under 200 pounds, you have no business cutting. Okay? Just no. Absolutely not. If you're a fat body, there's two ways you could go about it. Okay? So if you're a fat body but you're new to the gym, you might want to just hold the path for like 6 months to build up a little strength, right? And kind of get those newbie gains in and get all those newbie gains got. And then maybe switch to a cut. Okay? Because in the beginning, it's very easy to gain muscle and burn fat when you're like brand new to the gym. And that gets harder to do over time. So while you're still new, if you're fatter, take advantage of that and then cut. So why did I start my cut? Well, I started my cut because I felt like crap. Okay, you saw the pictures of me. I was a Lardosaurus Rex. I started having a lot of breathing problems. Like at night, I'd be sleeping in bed and just like mouth breathing. just feeling terrible. My sleep was garbage. It was hard. It was just like I was so fatigued by eating, like a year of like 4,000 calories a day. I was eating like for a year. I had 2 1,000 calorie shakes a day. It was like first thing I did in the morning was have a 1,000 calorie shake. And then at night before bed, I would have another one. And so that would have like Greek yogurt, blueberries, honey, peanut butter, oatmeal, all sorts of stuff. And I started to get some crazy indigestion at night and like almost threw up in my sleep a couple times. I was like, dude, I've had enough of this. And then I went to the doctor for some checkup, right? So I'm like in there. I don't remember what I was in there for. I was sick or something. Had the flu. And they go to like check your blood pressure. And the nurse was like, oh my gosh, your blood pressure is terrible. And I was like, oh shoot. I don't remember what the numbers were, but she told me the numbers. And she was like, yeah, that's really bad. Have you ever been checked out for that? And I was like, no. So I started the cut the next day. And 3 months later, go to get my blood pressure checked again. Perfect. Okay. Back in those perfect numbers we like to see. So that's why I started my cut. I was fat and I was just tired of feeling like a fat lard. Okay. Here, I'm going to move me just a little bit. Brian, messing this up again. Producer. Okay, so we're going to go through the progress of my cut. Okay. At first I'm just going to break down. I'm going to tell you what happened, right? And we can kind of break down the individual nitty-gritty bits and pieces. So I started my cut right here. This was like February. I didn't really know what I was doing in the beginning. So basically what I did is I just jumped right down to super deficit, like 1,700 calories. And it worked. I lost a lot of weight really, really fast. And I also noticed my strength just like plummeting. My strength just nose bombed. My macros were not very good. Like tracking wise, I wasn't hitting my protein number. In this period of time, up from here to here, I was getting about 140 grams per day. And so at this point, I weighed 240, right? So they say 1 gram per pound of body weight. I thought it was BS, okay? So I just ignored it. Turns out it's a thing. So yeah, I was getting about 140 grams a day, 1,700 calories a day. And my weight, just like fell off. It was crazy. Strength was really bad as well. And then right around here, you can kind of see this dip where it picks back up. I just hit like a strength and fat loss plateau for like 2 weeks, like nothing was moving. And I was like, okay. My calories went down. I went down too fast with my calories. My body like readjusted and I couldn't go down. I was already at 1,700. So like going down even more, it was just, I wasn't going to be able to eat enough food. So I knew something was off. So I basically took 2 weeks to go back up to 2,200 calories a day. And I made a few changes starting right here. Okay. Change one is that I upped my daily protein from about 140 grams a day to minimum 200 a day. So I started at 200 pounds. So I said, okay, I'm going to do 200 grams minimum. Okay. And then I also got a Peloton bike. So I could do half hour cardio every morning. Right. So when you hit a plateau, we're going to talk about this a little bit later. You have two choices. You can either cut your calories more or you can increase your activity. So at this point, I did both because, like I said, I did 2 weeks of 2,200 calories to kind of like restart everything and just kind of like reset my metabolism. And then, so starting right here, right above the 424, 200 grams of protein and half an hour of cardio every day. And I really feel like hitting the protein number, I immediately, within a couple days, felt much better. Like I felt stronger in the gym. I just felt overall better. Like I felt more functional. I was less tired. And I think that it helped. I genuinely do think that it helped retain and even maybe possibly build a small amount of muscle, like right through this time period. I do think I may have gained a little bit. It definitely made a difference. So if you're kind of thinking, yeah, I don't need to hit my protein number, I would suggest that you definitely do, based off of my own personal experience. So that's how it went. And then once I got down to 185, I decided too skinny and I need to go back up. So we need to pump the jam back up. Okay, so that's how it went. Breaking through plateaus. Okay, so there's a few plateaus that you're going to hit. The first plateau is going to be like that very first week of when you very first start your cut. And that is like you start cutting your calories and you immediately just feel like dump. Okay, you just immediately aren't performing as well in the gym and you just feel deflated and you're flat and you're weak. And the way that it kind of flushes out of your body, at least for me and a lot of other people, your intramuscular carbohydrates start depleting. It seems like the first place to go is your arms. So at least for me, what it felt like is I felt like after a couple weeks, my arms felt like they looked a lot smaller and I was still fat because it hadn't really burned a lot of fat yet, or really any fat yet. And so I felt like I had small arms and I was fat and I was like, well, this is terrible. I look like absolute crap. So you got to push through that initial, like you're going to feel like you're just going to look bad. Okay. You got to keep pushing, get through it eventually. The strength and the strength losses are inevitable. It's going to happen, but it's okay. You can maintain a lot of that strength. And I feel like I did maintain a lot of that strength once I started hitting my protein number and kind of made some adjustments to my training, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. And like I said earlier, you either need to break through a plateau, you need to restrict more calories, or you need to increase your expenditure. But the problem that I was getting is that to get enough protein, to hit my protein number, there's a certain amount of calories that it's going to take to hit your protein number. So at a certain point, you can't really cut your calories anymore, because I was already doing like 20 grams of carbs a day. And this is why it's important to stay with lower fat foods. So you have to hit a certain number of calories to get your protein number, which I do think is very, very important. So at a certain point, you can't cut anymore. So that's why you need to increase the activity so that you can keep pushing the calories. Okay, so you want to keep your calorie number. You don't sacrifice your protein number. Sometimes you just got to keep adding more activity. For me, it was that slow and steady. It was like 2 pounds a week doing what I was doing, and it felt great. It was just nice and slow, burning the fat off. It felt really, really good. I feel like in the end, it was really dialed in. Okay, so we're going to talk about how to structure your cut. One of the things that a lot of people talk about is, how do I figure out my baseline? There's like 100 caloric baseline calculators online. Just go and Google one and type in your weight and guesstimate your activity level, and that'll get you a rough baseline. Okay, and then it's literally this easy. You track your calories, you track what you eat every day, and then see what your weight does. If your weight doesn't move after 2 weeks, you need to do something, right? You're eating too much, or you need to raise your activity. So it's literally that simple, okay? I would taper calorie drops and not drop too quickly. Like I said, this is a mistake I made, was dropping too quickly, because your body is going to readjust to that new number. So I started off the gun going right at 1,700 calories a day. It was too much. And then, like, where do you drop from there? Once you readjust and you kind of plateau, you know, you drop it down another 200, you're at, 1,500 a day, right? It's just not enough. A higher body fat percentage people could probably get away with a little bit more aggressive of a deficit, at least in the beginning. But you just, you don't want to go too crazy with it. You just want to chop it down a little bit, ride it out, stay consistent, and then once that progress slows down, just increase the activity a little bit, or calories down a little bit. Do it at the same time, nice and slow. As you get deeper into the cut, 1 to 2 pounds of the week should be the goal. Okay, and that's what I was hitting, is, like I said, about 2 pounds a week. And for me, that was pretty perfect. I wasn't anywhere close to stage ready, right? I was probably, even at my peak cut, even at my peak leanness, I know I was probably 7 weeks out, right, from being stage ready. And I would watch your weight in 2-week increments. So like I said earlier, if your weight doesn't move for 2 weeks, then change something. Thing is, you're going to have a fluctuation day by day. So, I could weigh myself today. I could be 3 pounds in either direction the next day, and 3 pounds the next direction the day after that, right? So you saw my graph. It was kind of like, very spiky. Here, we'll pop up here real quick. There's like a lot of spikes in the graph, okay? So it's going to kind of go up and down, but you need to watch the overall trend. Okay. Now we're talking about training on a cut, okay? And I found, I had a hard time trying to figure out how I was going to change my training for cutting going into it. So I kind of had to figure it out the hard way, which, they say it's the best way to learn, okay? But basically what I had to do was modify my training to lower the volume so that I could effectively add variation to my exercises. Here's what I mean by that. When I was on peak bulk, it was very easy for me to do 3 working sets per exercise and do maybe, 4, maybe 5, like working exercises per lift. Okay, so, going pretty ham, doing quite a bit of volume. When I started cutting, I noticed that, hitting this bullet right here, my strength curve started dropping a lot faster. So for example, let's just say hypothetical numbers. I'm going to go down here, okay? So let's just say this is bulk. Okay, so if you're bulking, if you're doing bench press, right? And so your first set of bench press, you do 225 and you do 10 reps, okay? And you're bulking, so you're feeling good, you rest for a minute, and you do another one. And set 2 is 9 reps, okay? Still feeling another good. You're still feeling good. Set 3 could be, all right, set 3 could be 8 or 9 reps, because even though you're pushing hard, at least for me anyways, even though I was pushing the sets hard, I still had like a pretty good ability to recover in between sets. On a cut, this is not how it works. Okay, so on my cut, maybe set 1, well, maybe you're starting out at like 9 reps, okay? So set 1, you're doing 225 for like 9 reps. Even after resting a couple minutes, set 2, you're looking at like 6 reps, right? Or maybe 7. And then your set 3, maybe that's like 5 reps. Okay, so your strength curve is going to drop down a lot faster when you're cutting. So what I did is just lowered my volume of working sets. And for a little bit, I was doing just one really hard set to failure per exercise. And then I would go to the next exercise, and I varied my volume so that I could still have a lot of variation. Okay, so where normally I would do incline bench press and then flat press and shoulder press, instead of doing 3 sets of each, do 1 working set of each, so I still have energy to have 1 really good set on each exercise. Otherwise, I would have been just completely toasted. And really, I wasn't doing a lot of low rep work on the cut. I was just focusing on doing higher reps, getting blood into the muscle, trying to feel, generate the mind-muscle connection, stimulate the muscles, and just kind of doing a big set. And typically, I was pushing the reps up until I felt like, at a certain point, you feel like your cardiovascular is what gives out first, right? So like if you do 30 reps of squats, your legs aren't really going to be the failure point for most people, probably, right? For a lot of people, it's going to be like your lungs or your heart. So that's what I'm talking about is, pushing the reps up, but making sure that the failure point is the muscle and not necessarily the cardiovascular system. Okay, nutrition and protein. We kind of talked about it a little bit already. Does hitting your protein matter number? Yeah, hitting your protein matters a lot, okay? Be careful with your macros. You want to pick foods that are not going to be calorically dense. This is why so many people do chicken and rice or just chicken breasts, because chicken's very lean. So I did a lot of chicken breast. And thing is, the reason that you're doing that is so that you can get as many carbs as possible while still trying to go over, or without going over your calorie number. Okay. So, I'm pushing calories the best I can, pushing as much protein as possible, trying to get some carbs, and just trying to minimize the amount of fat. My protein sources, all animal, right? All chicken, eggs, beef, that's pretty much it. Refeeds and high carb days, I didn't really have any cheat days. Okay, I had a couple what I called high carb days. There was a few times I went to the gym and I was just like completely toasted, like there was just nothing there, like no energy. And then the next day, whenever I had a day like that, I would do an extra like 200 grams of carbs. That's like 800 calories, between 400 and 800 calories of carbs throughout the day. And I would just have one high carb day. And then the next workout, so good. Okay, really good. And then a lot of times I would see a sudden drop in weight after doing that, which was really weird. So, and I utilize those very sparingly because I obviously don't want to undo the work that I'm putting in of the cut. Some meal prepping tips. Okay, I ate a lot of eggs, a lot of ground beef, and a lot of chicken. What I'm doing right now, just for speed, is I'm taking a crock pot, throwing a whole bunch of chicken breasts in there, and just doing some like tomato paste, chicken broth, some different seasonings, maybe like a jalapeno pepper or something, and just slow cooking the chicken breasts for 4 or 5 hours until it's basically just a crock pot of shredded chicken, and you can just weigh it out. And yeah, it's super easy. Okay, what would I do differently? I would not diet so hard right in the beginning. Okay, I wish I would have tapered off my calories a lot slower in the beginning of the cut is I feel like I lost too much strength right off the bat, and then I was playing catch up the whole time on the rest of the cut. So, and that just isn't really where I want it to be, but it is what it is. That's what happened. And then I would also do more protein and more cardio directly from the start. So that was pretty much it. A couple extra notes I want to throw in there. You need to get something to track your calories. So I do the MyFitnessPal app. I put in my calories every day. I track everything that I eat, every single thing every day, and it tracks your weight and everything. Well, you have to put it in, but right, I track my weight, weigh myself. For counting the amount of food, I used to be a cups guy, like 1 cup of chicken, 1 cup of rice. Get rid of that. You need to switch to by weight grams. It'll change your life. Okay? Thank me later. Yeah, that's it. So, hope you enjoyed the video. Okay? Get out there, be successful in your cut, work hard, and just do your best. Okay? You got this. Yeah, so go crush it. And if you are too skinny and you don't need a cut, go ahead and watch my video. I'll put it somewhere here about how to bulk. And then, you can get fat again.